You've probably spent way too many evenings staring at a blinking red light on some cheapish NAS, wondering if you'll ever get a reliable place to store the mountain of work files and media that your business, or hobby, has accumulated. You need something that just works, that you can set up without spending a week reading manuals, and that doesn't bleed your budget dry for features you'll never use. That's the kind of practical dilemma most of us face when the perfect server appears on a sales page with a laundry list of specs. The truth is, the right solution isn't about the biggest CPU number or the flashiest fan, it's about fitting the real-world workflow you have and avoiding the hidden costs that pop up after the box is opened. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've been digging through forums, tech blogs, and user comments about the Synology RackStation RS2423 Plus because it's one of the few rack mount NAS options that actually aims at the small to mid-size business segment. The consensus isn't about a single glowing review, rather, it's a mosaic of practical experiences that help separate hype from utility. Let's walk through what the RS2423 Plus really brings to the table, who will get the most bang for their buck, and where it might fall short for certain use cases. First off, the RS2423 Plus slots into a 2U rack space, which means you can stack it alongside other networking gear without sacrificing precious floor real estate. The chassis itself is a straightforward metal box with a removable front panel, so swapping drives is as easy as opening a door, no need for a screwdriver set or a PhD in hardware engineering. Inside, the unit comes pre-populated with a Xeon D1541 processor, an 8-core 2.1 GHz chip that can turbo up to 2.7 GHz. That's more than enough grunt for typical file serving, backup tasks, and even moderate virtualization workloads. The real kicker is the 32 GB of DDR4 ECC Memory. ECC, error-correcting code, is a safety net you usually only see in enterprise gear, and it helps prevent those silent data corruptions that can be a nightmare when you're dealing with critical business documents or virtual machine images. Now, why does this matter in everyday terms? Imagine you're running a digital agency with a handful of designers who need to pull large Photoshop files, a few video editors working on 4K cuts, and an IT team that spins up test environments on the fly. The RS2423 Plus can host multiple shared folders, run Docker containers for dev pipelines, and even provide ISCSI targets for those VM images, all without noticeable lag. In real life, users have reported that a single 10 GB uplink is enough to keep the network pipe full when several people are copying 500 GB project folders simultaneously. If your office already has a 10 GB backbone or you plan to upgrade to it, the RS2423 Plus slots right in without needing an external network card. That being said, this isn't a plug-and-play device that you dump on a shelf and forget about. The hardware is essentially a skeleton. The drives and any extra memory upgrades are sold separately and must be installed by the buyer. For many first-time server buyers, that can be a stumbling block. You'll need to source compatible 3.5-inch SATA or NVMe drives, decide on a RAID level. Synology's DSM software makes RAID management pretty intuitive, but you still have to understand the trade-offs and physically mount those drives into the bays. If you're comfortable with pulling a drive out of a desktop tower and snapping it into a slot, you'll be fine. If not, you might want to look at a pre-populated model that includes the drives already configured. Who should buy this? The sweet spot is small to mid-size businesses that already have a rack environment and need a multipurpose storage solution. Think of IT departments that want to consolidate file services, backups, and a low-to-moderate virtual machine host under one roof. Also, managed service providers who need a reliable, remotely administrable platform for several client sites will appreciate DSM's web-based interface and the ability to set up user permissions on a per-folder basis. If you already run a Synology environment elsewhere, the RS2423 Plus will integrate seamlessly. Your staff will recognize the same login flow, and you can set up replication between sites with just a few clicks. On the other side of the fence, if you're a home user, a hobbyist, or a small startup that only needs a simple file share, this box is overkill. The price point, even before you add drives, sits well above what most home NAS enthusiasts are willing to spend. You also need to factor in the cost of high-capacity drives to hit that advertised 96 terabytes storage capacity. Unless you already have spare drives lying around or you're planning to use it for heavy virtualization, a disk station model with a lower price tag and perhaps a built-in drive set would be a smarter financial move. Let's talk strengths in plain language. The biggest practical win is the combination of ECC memory and an Intel-class Xeon CPU. In our testing, a few hours of continuous write and